Hello and welcome to today's Technology on Demand webinar. This webinar is created as part of the Clark County School District's Webinars on Demand series. We are looking at formative assessment and how we can use the digital tools for formative assessment effectively in our classroom to have data and information that we need to use to determine how well students are grasping the content and the skills that we're teaching, and how we can use those tools to provide information to inform our instruction. I'm Mark Oakton, a coordinator with the Curriculum and Professional Development Division. You see there my contact information. Feel free to follow me on Twitter. I am not an active tweeter, if that's even a word, but you can also contact me through email, and I have my email address listed right there. I'm here to provide support for you. So we're looking at formative assessment today, but first a little bit of background information on our Blend Ed initiative. As always, we want to remind you that this presentation is part of the Clark County School District's Blend Ed Digital Learning Initiative, which is a collaborative effort between various branches within the Curriculum and Professional Development Division. These branches are the Online and Blended Learning Department, the Professional Development and Education Office, or PDE Office, Technology Integration Support, and the Nevada Ready 21 program. Together, we are working across the district with multiple entities to try to get online and blended learning into more and more of our classrooms. When we're talking about the district's Blend Ed initiative, what we mean, we're looking at combining the best elements of face-to-face instruction with the best elements of online and digital learning. Instead of talking about blended education in the Clark County School Districts, we talk about Blend Ed. In Blend Ed, we are looking at three key elements: the digital curriculum, the guided instruction, and the authentic assessment, or what we call the CIA of digital learning. If you think about it, all classrooms are designed on these three elements: curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And they always have been. You can't do any of them without the other, and they should have an equal balance in every classroom. However, this does look a little bit different in the Blend Ed classroom. Remember that Blend Ed is a mixture of face-to-face instruction and digital content. Many of you are already using an element of digital curriculum in your classroom, which means that you are on your way towards a Blend Ed learning environment. Imagine, if you will, a triple Venn diagram. Each and every day, we are somewhere within that Venn diagram. Some days we're more involved with content, and other days we're more involved with instruction. The spot we're aiming for is where the curriculum, instruction, and assessment converge. For this webinar, talking about formative assessment tools, I think it's pretty obvious that we're talking about hopefully having our assessment be authentic assessment. We all understand the importance of formative assessment to know where our students are so that we can meet their needs. Today's session is discussing how to use digital tools to gather that formative assessment. So why would we want to use digital tools to gather that formative assessment data? First off, you can see and get immediate results right then and there. There's no grading with digital tools, so that you can see right there in the instant what your students know or don't know, what they can or cannot do, whether they understand a concept or need a little bit of help. You can also see what areas they need that help in. Additionally, you can pause right there after a certain question or poll and ask follow-up questions to get them to think in depth about why they chose the answer that they chose. Digital formative assessment increases classroom participation and effectiveness. You can hear from the silent students who sit in the back and keep to themselves. It gives voice to those reticent students and forces them to participate so that you get to hear from everybody, not just those who always like to be seen and heard, or who are not afraid of the limelight and attention. As many tools are anonymous, the graphs on your screen showing who answered what doesn't pinpoint those who hit the wrong answers. This allows for students to enter answers with greater confidence that they will not be ridiculed or shamed. Of course, with all of these tools, you can get that information in the back end. It's simply not visible to the other students. I think most important, you have the immediate gathering of data, which is permanent, but you're able to go back and look at that data later, download it, manipulate it, and look at it to determine what instructional decisions you may need to make in order to meet the needs of all of your learners in your classroom. Today we're going to look at a variety of formative assessment tools that can be used at pretty much any grade level and across all content areas. We are going to start with the tool called Poll Everywhere. This is nice because you don't need those CPS responders or those active vote responders that a lot of schools have. Students can use their own personal device. It's free, and you can have unlimited polls, although you are limited to 40 responses per poll with the free account. If you have classes larger than that, this may not be the tool that you want to use, or you may need to subscribe to have higher limits. I only use the free account. With this tool, students may use their personal devices to respond to your polls via text message. This is perfect for the bring your own device, the BYOD environments, especially at the secondary level. As this operates through text messaging, no additional app needs to be downloaded or purchased. However, if students do not have a cell phone, or maybe they got in trouble and their parents turned off their text messaging capabilities, this can be done through a web service by typing in a URL on any computer and responding to the poll that way. So your kids, if they don't have a cell phone, they're not out of luck. The polls and their reports may be embedded into a PowerPoint presentation, a Keynote presentation, or a Google Slide presentation. They all require a little plugin, but you can embed it into the lesson. You can pause in your presentation and take the poll within the presentation without having to go out to another program or app, allowing you to get that feedback while you are in the moment without disrupting the flow of your lesson. Question types, there are various question types: multiple choice, yes, no, true, false, free response, and quite a few other question types that we'll look at in just a minute to get some phrases, words, or thoughts from your students. It does allow for texting full-on phrases as well. If you use the web version, you can use clickable images where they select one or the other. You can also have students rank order. Whichever is picked the most will appear at the top. Okay, let's do a little bit of an app share so that you can see what Poll Everywhere looks like. I am here on the website, which is simply www.polleverywhere.com, and I'm going to sign up or log in. You can sign up, and when you sign up, it simply asks if you want to use it primarily as a participant or a presenter. You're going to want to sign up as a presenter. I already have an account, so I'll go and log in. Now, notice in the upper left-hand corner, it walks you through the process. So I have no polls in here. I've gone ahead and deleted all the polls that I had just so I could start fresh with you. And to create, you simply click on, and it indicates here, it says we'll show you how to set up a polling activity. It takes about a minute. Click Create to begin. So I'm going to click on Create. Now it gives me some options for what kind of poll I want. I can create a multiple choice question. I'm going to get rid of the dialog box that pops up. I can have a multiple choice question, a word cloud, which I really like to use, Q&A, a rank order question, a clickable image, a survey, an open-ended question, and a whole bunch of other options here that I've not actually played with at all. Okay, like I said, I like the word cloud because I like to see what word pops up the most when I'm asking a question for my students. Okay, so I'm going to create this question, and I'm going to create this for, we have winter break coming up, so, and I'm pretending like I'm teaching high school again. And I'm going to say, what is your favorite, because I taught high school, school appropriate activity to participate in during winter break? And I'm going to click on Create. And it is creating my poll. Now it asks the question here, and I can click on the paintbrush here to adjust the visual settings, and it will show how I can change this color scheme if I want. And I've never used the heat map before. Change the font, title, change how to respond, background, and some other options there on the visual settings I can change as well. This is the important one. activating. Right now, this poll, if you tried to take it, you could not access it. It's not active. Activating publishes your poll, making it available to your audience. This is important for if you are using the poll as you are typically going to do it in real time in front of your class. And so you want to definitely click on that to activate it. And notice when you activate it, it turns a dark blue, but it gives me some directions yet to have that I could give to the students to respond to the poll. And two options here, texting or the website. Now, if you're posting this in the class and you don't want them to see each other's responses, you can hide the word cloud. You can lock this poll to prevent responses. You can clear the results, because sometimes you usually want to test your poll, or if you want to use a same poll multiple times, you can use it, then clear the results and reuse it again. Because again, with the free account, you only have 40 answers, and you can make it full screen. So on the right hand side now, we have the configuration. How can people respond? I can choose if they can respond online or through a text. I can get rid of those options if I don't want them. Okay, so that's important. Knowing your audience. Maybe you don't have computers handy in your classroom and you only want them to respond through a text message. That's fine. You can make it so that that's the only option they have. Audience restriction and identity. Okay. Now notice it's default here to everyone. Because I have a free account, I cannot restrict it to only registered participants. That's grayed out. So I don't have that option because I'm using the free account. How do you want to identify participants? A screen name. This makes them put in a screen name at least. Response settings. How many times can people respond? As many times as they want? Maybe you only want them to respond one time. You can schedule when it opens up. When is it going to unlock and open up? And then you can lock it down. So if you wanted to make it so that students could only respond during at a specific time, maybe they had 1 hour to respond, you can use the custom, set it to open up at whatever date you want, at whatever time you want, and then have it locked down an hour later if you wanted to. Okay, so you can be as draconian as you want here, I guess. I'm going to simply not make it automatically lock or unlock. Okay. And moderation. Again, these are grayed out. With the free account, you don't have these options. Okay. So I'm going to go and I've configured it now. I'm all done with step number 1. I'm going to go to step 2 and test. And so I can test it and actually enter a response here and see what it says. I'm not going to test it right now. I've tested this. I know it's going to work. So I'm not going to test it because that might take up some of my responses. And then present. Am I going to present this from the web? Am I going to present it in PowerPoint? I can actually download it as a slide into a PowerPoint if I want. And how are you going to share it? This is what I'm going to use for this poll to make it so that you have access to it, because I want to hear your responses, at least the first 40 of you, because I know that there's more than 40 people enrolled in our Google Classroom who might take this poll, but the first 40 of you, make sure you respond. I'm going to give you the link, and the video will pause in just a moment for you to be able to put that link in there and to respond. And notice here it says people can respond without the poll being active. When you're using the link, they can respond anytime. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share this link with you and have you go and respond to this question at this time. All right, thank you for taking that poll. Unfortunately, and obviously because you're taking that poll after I'm showing the video, I can't show you how your results populate the poll. So I've created a second poll, which is exactly the same as the first, and just made it, same question with the number 2 at the end. And I want to show you what happens as people populate and put answers into the poll. So see it tells me I'm responding as Marco because I have it set up so you have to use a name, and I put that in there. Students can change their name, so you have to be careful of that. And so my favorite activity, so I'm going to just put some activities in here a number of times, and I'll just put the same answer in a few times so you can see what happens. Notice I have two windows here. On the right hand side I'm entering answers. On the left hand side you see how the answers are showing up in the poll itself. So I'm going to put sleep in there 3 times. And I'll put eat in there a couple times. You notice when I put eat in, sleep got bigger because sleep's in there 3 times, eat's only in there once. Eat is smaller. I'm going to put it in a couple more times. You can see what happens. Doesn't matter how many times I put it in there, eat is now bigger than sleep because it's in there more. Now some of you might be those who like to shop. I'm going to put a 2-word response in here now with give presents. Notice it puts both words in separately. There's give and presents, and they're equal right now. I'll throw in a couple more answers. One will be family time. And now I'm going to put in open presents. Now because give presents and open presents both have that same word, presents has been entered a lot more times than any other word, which is why it's the largest word in here. So you can see at a glance with this word cloud what students are responding to the most. So that's just one of the ways. It's my favorite way, so that's the one I show. But there's a number of other ways that you can use that you can use Poll Everywhere to gather that information. As to, again, with formative assessment, well, how are students responding? If you use the multiple choice, then you can answer, have questions that are a little bit more in depth, and rather than simply looking for a short word or phrase response. So those are some options as well. So this is just one example of a formative assessment tool that you can use without an app. It's web-based, or the students can do it on their phones. They don't even need a smartphone. They can just do it on a phone that has texting capability. You just have to join the class, and that's it. It's a great tool that requires no hardware or software purchase and is free. That's the best part of it. It's free for teachers and students. So that is Poll Everywhere. The next tool that I want to talk about for formative assessment is Plickers. Plickers are a great tool because they do not require any hardware or software purchase. It does not require schools to purchase responders or anything like that at all. What it does require is an app that can be downloaded from the App Store. It can be used on a single iPad, iPhone, or Android device that the teacher has. Best of all, it is also 100% free. What teachers do need to do is to print out a Plickers card for each student. And this Plickers card uses a graphic similar to a QR code. You see an example there on the screen. These cards can be downloaded from the Plickers website and can be printed on cardstock or regular paper. I do find that cardstock works best, and plain white cardstock does work best, not laminated. Each card is unique and can be assigned to a specific student in a class. As the teacher asks questions, the students hold up the card in the direction that represents the answer. Answer choices are limited to A through D, but this allows teachers to get a quick view of whether students are grasping the material or not. If you look at the graphic on the screen, you can see that each corner shows a number. In this case, it is number 3. This means that this is card number 3, which we have assigned to a particular student in a class. You will also notice that around the edges we have the letters A through D. What I have to do here is ask multiple choice questions, and then the student will hold up the card and turn it in such a way that the correct answer, or the answer that they think is the correct answer, is towards the top. I then use the camera on my iPad or my phone to scan through the class of cards, and it reads each of the cards to associate an answer with a student. Now I'm going to demonstrate this for you here without having students, so we'll try this and see how it works. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is to log into the Plickers website, which is simply plickers.com. And you can log in with your Google account, your district Google account. And so that's one of the great things about our district Google accounts is you log in and just use that single sign-on. You click and log in, and it takes you right in, which I love about it. I don't have to remember a bazillion different passwords anymore. Okay, and so it tells you where you can download the apps for the Android or the iDevice. And you see an image here. It's kind of blurry, but it's kind of what it looks like with the kids. You've got the kids in the background. They're all holding up their cards, and the teacher is scanning with their phone. And we'll demonstrate that. Okay, so then when you're in Clickers, you need to create your classes. So if I click on class here, I have a fake webinar class that I've created with 20 students in it. Like I said, the Clickers cards, you can get up to 60 different cards to use with your kids. And so, most classes, unless you're in maybe a band class or a PE class, you should definitely have less than 60 students. My biggest class teaching high school English was 49, which was massive. So, I can't imagine having 60 students in a class that would typically use this. Okay, so I've got my class with some fake names, and then I also have, if I click on my library here, this is where I can create questions that I might use with my kids. And now you don't have to create the questions all together. You can just put all of your questions in this library, and you can create folders to house your questions and organize it, and that works really well. So I've just created three questions here that I'm going to use as an example. Okay, the most frequent correct answer in a multiple choice test, whether Clickers should be used for formative assessment, and what is my favorite color. And you guys get to see the answer there right now, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate using Clickers for this. So this is how I do my initial setup prior to actually pulling out the cards and giving the cards to the kids, and prior to using my device. Okay, I've switched devices. Hopefully the sound quality is just as good. I'm now doing an app share from my iPad. And so we see, if I log in to open up the Clickers app on my iPad, it brings up my classes, and right now I only have the one class. You can see that I'm signed in with my same account, my NVCCSD account. And so I'm going to open up my iPad class, and it tells me that Clickers is updated. I have my class in there. Now, I have a couple of different things. I can do a queue and a history. I don't have anything in there yet right now. But if I click on create, I can actually create questions on the fly, and I can ask questions on the fly and just verbally give the students the answers, and they don't, and tell them what the correct answer is, and enter answer text if I need to, and type that information in, and I can do that if I like from my iPad. Or you saw me create some questions on my desktop, and so if I go to the library, it'll actually bring up those questions from on my desktop. Okay. Now, because I don't have a class of students, I've actually taped some of my Clickers cards onto the wall in the office, and so we're going to see how well this works. I've not done it like this before. This is a test, and so I'm going to choose, and I taped them up there randomly, so all the different answers are up, and I didn't tape up all 20, just a few of the cards. So I'm going to start with this first question: what is the most frequently correct answer on a multiple choice test? And if I click on it, it shows me our answer choices, and I get to see what the correct answer is. I can add that to queue, and so I can get it ready, or I can simply scan it now. I'm going to click on scan now, and notice it opens up my camera, and I scan the classroom, which is on my wall, and I can see, notice as I scan by, it actually brings up people's names, my fake students, and tells me if they got the answer. So I scan back once and twice, and I go across. I see that I have 13 out of my 20 students who have answered the question. I'm going to click the check mark. Now notice I can see right here on my screen, which the students would not see obviously, that only 2 people have got it correct. I can see that Billy, Susan, and Maria didn't answer, that there's a few other people that haven't answered. Tyrone, Kai, and Suma got answer choice C correct, so they are good to go. I can clear the responses, and I can check it to say that we're done with that question, and I can look at, wow, I really need to reteach this concept because only 23% of my students answered it correctly. Alright, and so I can scan it, clear responses, archive it. I'm going to go back now. I'm going to ask the next question in my library. Clickers should be used for summative assessment. It's a true-false question. I'm going to scan that, and some people, because I have C and D up and only A and B are possible choices, some people are putting up answers that aren't even applicable. Alright, I can scan that, and I've got 63% correct on this one, a little bit better. And my last question from my library, what is my favorite color? And I'm going to scan that. And I have my 13 responses, 2 of them correct, and I get to see exactly what my students have learned in my instruction. Okay. And that is what you see on the iPad. Notice I can make those decisions immediately after I see and have the conversations. You know, I can go back to that question. I look at my history here. I can go back to this question and say, okay, 3 of you answered A, and maybe ask, you know, why would A be a bad answer for this? And have those conversations in the class, you know, especially if you're looking at those questions like the true-false questions that only have 2 choices. And you can talk about ask them why they answered a choice that wasn't even an option, because they're obviously not taking it seriously. So it informs your conversations. And that is the Plickers app. The next tool that we're going to talk about is Go Formative. Some people just call it Formative. Go Formative will work on any device with internet capability. If you create an account with your Google, I wanted to call it Google Apps for Education, I'm still in that mode, in your G Suite for Education account, your NVCCSD, your district Google account, you will also be able to link Go Formative with Google Classroom. To have students access your Go Formative assessments, you can use a quick code for students, or you can have students access it through Google Classroom, which is what I recommend, as that allows you to track the students better. Assignments can be used in class or as homework. You can use existing files, and the whiteboard for answer options is simply amazing. There's no other word to describe it. It is amazing. And so I want to have you see how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to go to goformative.com in my Chrome browser and log in using my NVCCSD account. So I'm here in my Chrome browser. I'm already logged into my Chrome browser because that's key to being able to log in on a single sign-in wherever you go. And I'm at goformative.com. I simply click on login. It gives me a choice. I can type in a username and a password, but I don't want to do that. Use my Google account. It takes me right in. Perfect. Awesome. And so I'm in my account. And first thing I want to do is I want to create a new assignment. So I'm going to click on the plus sign with New Formative here. And I'm going to highlight this text here and simply call it the Formative Assessment Webinar 2017. And I'm good to go there. Next, I want to add a question. So I'm going to click the plus sign here. You know, there's really nothing else for me to do. I click the plus sign here and I can add some content. I can add question or advanced questions. Now notice that if I want to use the advanced, they're kind of grayed out for the advanced questions. If I want to use the advanced questions, I need to upgrade. But I like to do everything free. I'm a cheapskate, and so I'm going to just use the type of questions that they have here. Multiple choice questions allow for automatic grading. I like the multiple selection and short answer. So if there's multiple correct answers, that multiple selection works well, and you have to then do some manual grading there. Short answer, an essay, you obviously have to manually grade. And here's what's most amazing: you can ask your students to show their work on how they solve a problem, and that's the show your work option. And the true false obviously allows for the automatic grading. So I'm going to add a multiple choice question. And so I've added a question. You've already seen the question before. What is my favorite color? I've got some answer choices, and I have selected the correct answer. So really, really easy. I can add another question. This one, maybe I want to show you on work question, and I type the question in there. Okay, so I've thrown what I think looks like a good solid math question. I am not a math guy, so math teacher, I apologize because I absolutely stink at math. But I should have a show your work question here, where there's two questions, solve for x if y equals 3, and I give you an equation. Then I say solve if y equals -3. And so they would have to actually show their work in this. And notice I can edit the background and change some of the features, and that's really neat. So I can make them with any amount of points that I want and have that scored that way. Now, something that's neat is when grading, I can give partial credit if they demonstrate for this problem. Maybe they got half of it right. I can give them partial credit if they demonstrate that they have some understanding but don't quite get the complete correct answer, and that's really a neat aspect, is that you can give that partial credit. Now I want to add some content for student consumption. Students don't have to do anything with that content, so I can upload an image. I can pick any random image. So I clicked on the image and I chose something completely random, the statue of the thinker, and I can add other content. Notice now as well, I can, let's say I don't want that there. For some reason this image has some pertinence to this math problem, which it obviously does not. I can rearrange the order and have some content in the form of an image or whatever else it might be. I can have something embedded. I can have a text box. I can have a whiteboard that I've create something on. I can even embed a video here. Okay, so then I can want to ask another question. Maybe it's going to be a short answer question. How many webinars? I apologize. I usually pause it to type because the typing is obnoxious. How many webinars does it take to accrue 1 CU? We're assuming that they're my webinars. I can type the correct answer there. And give some directions to use the numerals. Or if I wanted to, actually I could add a correct answer and put it in both ways so that they could use whichever way they wanted. And that's pretty neat that you can have the multiple correct answers that way. Okay, and so that's a short answer question. So maybe I want some content. Maybe I want a video from YouTube. So I'm going to embed a video here. And I'm going to do a shameless plug. I'm going to embed some of the video I've already created. And I have my YouTube video. It's just something completely random. Okay, and I can use that as some content for my kids if they need some content. All right. Now, that's a really easy way of providing some material for your students, and then you assign it to the students. So I can do that. Now I've previewed it, and to assign it, I simply click on Assign. Now, Assign to Webinar Test Class. I can add a new class from my Google Classroom. I'm going to import from Google Classroom. It wants to verify that I want to allow it to. It's importing my classes from Google Classroom. Okay, and so I see here I've got my webinars on demand. I'm going to re-import the students. I'm not actually going to assign it to you. I'm going to, so I can select that and import it that way and assign it through my Google Classroom. So really easy to use. GoFormative is an awesome tool. I think you'll enjoy it, and you'll enjoy using it with your kids. Another tool that we can use, and this is great because it does not require you to have any special hardware or software. All you need is an internet connected device, and that's all your kids need as well, is something to get them online, and that is Padlet. You can simply do a Google search for Padlet and find it. If you are not familiar with Padlet, it is really exactly what it says on the screen, a virtual wall for sticky notes. And it does have a lot of uses, including formative assessment. So imagine, if you will, you in your classroom, you give your kids sticky notes and you have them write the answer to whatever question you have on that sticky note and post it on the wall, and you get to see all their responses in that way. You're doing this virtually, except instead of just having text as an option, as you can see from the image here, it has video or images that can be used. So it really makes it so there's a lot more options for students to be able to demonstrate what they know or what they can do just using a Padlet. Now, for students to use it, it does not require a sign-in for them. However, you, as the one who creates and owns the Padlet, do have the ability to moderate posts before they are visible to others, and you would want to do that if you have a concern that a student might post something inappropriate or offensive. as well. If it's your Padlet, you have the ability to remove posts that other people might have posted, including your students. If you didn't set up the settings to be able to make it so you had to moderate, then you can moderate on the back end by removing those offensive posts. So it's a great tool. I'm not going to demo it, but be aware of Padlet. You'll probably see a lot of people using it. I know if you've come to some of my trainings, you've probably seen me use it as well. Another thing that we don't really think of necessarily with formative assessment is simply using Google Classroom. A lot of us are using Google Classroom. A lot of people are using it as a way to send out documents and retrieve documents from students, kind of a communication system that will track those documents for you and make that distribution and collection so much easier. And it does that definitely. That's one of the great things. One of the things I love about Google Classroom. But there are also some features built into it, such as discussion questions and polls that you can use to check your kids' pulse, to see what they know, what they understand, to use for those formative assessment purposes. Okay. Now I'm going to do a little demonstration of it here so you can see how to use those discussion questions and polls in Google Classroom. I'm going to do it with the dummy class, a test class without students, so you won't actually be able to see how the results come in, but you can see how to set it up. Okay, so here I am in my test class. It's like I said, dummy class that I have. There's no students in it, so you won't be able to see how it works, but you can see how to set it up. I'm in my stream, which is where all the communication happens back and forth between me and the students. And in that lower right hand corner I have the plus sign, and if I hover over it I have some options there. Now I want to just simply create a question. And so, what are you going to do over winter break? And I can have a due date if I like. I can assign a topic. I can put additional instructions in there if I need to. But here's the important part. I can have a short answer or a multiple choice. Okay, I'm going to do a short answer, obviously. And I can allow students to reply to each other and to edit their answers even. Okay, and so this presents as a way to have a discussion forum where students can respond back and forth. And you can see not just what they know, but how they respond to each other. Okay, so I'm going to ask that question. All right, and then I'm going to create another question here. And what is your favorite winter activity? And I'm going to make this one multiple choice. And skiing, sledding, because we live in Las Vegas and we do these things so often. Snowball fights, yada yada yada. Whatever else I want on there. Okay. Again, I can put that in there with due dates and all the other options, and I can allow students to see the class summary or not, because this is a poll, and I can ask that question. Okay, and so these two things are used as a formative assessment, so you can see what kids think about a topic or a question. Edpuzzle is one of my favorite tools as classrooms use more and more video to illustrate points and to flip portions of their classrooms. Consider just how much video is on YouTube. I'm using Edpuzzle for you to view this right now so you can see how it can be used to embed questions inside of a video. As we assign video for students to watch, we need to be able to hold them accountable for that. Edpuzzle allows us to do just that. We can embed questions in videos and use that formative assessment data to make the instructional decisions that we need to make. Edpuzzle makes it so that students cannot skip through the content of the video or simply press play and walk away, as I'm sure nobody ever tried to do during my webinars. This is why we're using Edpuzzle for these. Edpuzzle is a free tool. Go to edpuzzle.com and log in with your Google account. As you know, because you're using it right now, it has Google Classroom integrations, so you can create an assignment in Edpuzzle and assign it automatically to your Google Classroom. You can grab a video source from YouTube, Khan Academy, or any other sources. You can even create a video yourself, like I'm doing, and upload it into Edpuzzle. I don't think I need to do a demo of this. We do have demos in some of our other videos if you want to look at some of the other videos that are coming up, especially as we talk about later in the year talk about the differentiation using G Suite, and I'll show you a little bit more with it about how to use Edpuzzle at that time. But you can see what it does right now, and you can do some research and play with it if you want to play with it a little bit more than that. I'm not going to take any more time today to talk about Edpuzzle. Great tool, I love it. Okay, Kahoot. So this is a fun, game-like approach to formative assessment, because we, as a people, like to play games. Think about the Pokemon Go phenomenon from not that long ago, when you see everyone walking down the street looking at their smartphones, trying to catch those Pokemon monsters or whatever they might be. We love games. We love to gamify our lives. Students, using Kahoot, students compete against each other by answering questions. They earn points by answering questions quickly and correctly. So it doesn't just reward you for being correct, you have to be quick if you want to win the game. This encourages students to participate with one another and creates an environment that is welcome to learning. Kahoots are usually best played as a class where every student has a mobile device that has internet access. In order to create a Kahoot, teachers can sign up for free at getkahoot.com to create new Kahoots or quizzes or discussions. As well, there are already created quizzes in a bank that teachers can use if it fits what you want. You can also download those, you can make those your own. You can steal them and modify those quizzes that are already there to suit your needs. Students also have the ability to create Kahoots. My daughters have created them as the closing activity for presentations that they've had to present in their classes, and had a lot of fun with that. Then students go to kahoot.it to log in. When they go to that website, they will see a screen that says enter a game pin. Game pins are specific to a quiz that you create for your students. Students enter nicknames or their own names so that you know who is participating. Classes should have established guidelines for students to make sure that the names that they choose are appropriate, as the entire class will see these names projected. Teachers can monitor quickly what students' names are submitted. They can kick out students with inappropriate names and have them re-enter following guidelines. You can create different types of formative assessments, quizzes, surveys, or initiate a discussion. Today we're just talking about using the quiz portion. Okay, we're going to do a quick demo of what it looks like in Kahoot. So I'm at the Kahoot website. I'm going to change it now from Get Kahoot to just simply Kahoot.com. I'm going to log in. I've already logged in before, so it automatically recognizes me. I log in using my Google account. I have it plugged in there. Okay. Now, different types of Kahoots. We can do the quiz, jumble, discussion, or survey that we've talked about. We're going to go ahead and do the quiz. So I'm creating this quiz. And it's really easy. You can add an image and upload an image if you like. You put a title in there. I'm just going to make it a practice quiz. And a description, just for practice. Okay, and I can put an image in there. I can drag or drop it if I want. I'm not going to worry about the image right now, although I like to put them in there because it makes it more fun for the kids as well. And I'm going to click on OK, go. Okay, I don't want to have a hashtag in mind, so I'm not too worried about that. Oh, I didn't select my audience. There we go. I'll make it for training. Okay, questions. You're limited on your questions. Four choices. What is Mark's favorite color? You can change the time limit as fast as 5 seconds, as slow as 2 minutes if it's a question that kids need more time to ponder. 5 seconds is really fast. I like the 20-second. Most kids will get it done within 10, but that gives those kids who take a couple minutes extra time to do that. So blue, black, red, camo. And I get to mark the correct answers. Now notice I can make multiple correct answers if I want. Of course, this question is only one correct answer. And do I want to award points for the question? Yes or no? I can add an image. I would definitely put an image of me up there, and maybe in my hunting gear or something like that, just for fun. And I click on next to make another question. Next, practice Kahoot. I have my questions. I can keep adding as many questions as I like and use those. I like to add the images with them. And then we have the students play it. So I'm going to close that. Okay. and I want to save my Kahoot. Now to have students, I can preview it, I can play it, I can share it. So I click on play, I get my kids in front of the computer. They have to go to, it's going to give us the directions here. I'm going to choose the classic option. Go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin. And it pops up on the screen. The kids have the game pin, and you hear that awesome music that we all love. That will drive you batty if you're listening to it too much, but it's great. The kids love the music. I haven't figured that one out why. I haven't figured out why they love the music, but they do. And so you play the game with the game pin, and the kids really get into it. And you can see it gives you real-time information for how the kids are doing. All right, there's a new feature in Kahoots that I just found out about last week that I think is awesome, that I think you really love. Okay, so if I go to my Kahoots, I can see all of the Kahoots that I've created or that I've stolen from other people and made my own. So I've got this one on formative assessment. And if I click here on formative assessment, I bring up the details for this quiz. Now I can play it live like I just demonstrated with you, or I can play it as a challenge. If I play it as a challenge, I can actually assign it to my Google Classroom or send it out as a link, in which case students now take it on their own time. So it becomes asynchronous, and it doesn't have to be that Kahoot that's done in real time with everybody in front of you. Students can do it at their own time, on their own time, which is a major breakthrough for Kahoot, one that I'm glad to see that they've done. So I'm excited to see that in action. Okay, there are two more really cool tools that I want to talk to you about. And they're easy to confuse with each other, but they're completely different. The first one is Quizlet Live, and this is a game-like app. It's absolutely free to sign up, costs you nothing. Each student, when you're doing a Quizlet Live, and this really is gamifying things a little bit, each student does need a device. As the students join online, they're put into randomized teams of 3 to 4 students. Groups then race to be the first one done. To match terms to definitions is really what it's about. You need to have a Quizlet with at least 12 unique terms and at least 6 students to play the game. So this would not work in a small group setting. It usually takes between 10 to 20 minutes of class time to complete a Quizlet, and at the end of the game, students can see what they answered correctly and incorrectly. So it's a really easy tool for students to use, and as you can see from the image there, that puts them into in this case it was the frogs, the T-Rexes, the ostriches, and the lynx. You can see how the students have to move together, and it's the whole group of students, how they move and race. So that's Quizlet Live for you. This is my very, very favorite one. Quizzes is very similar to Kahoot, but it's a little newer. In Kahoot, the answers are up on the projector, and it's teacher paced, and that's what that's how Kahoots have traditionally been. We did have the Kahoot challenge that I talked to you about, which is more like quizzes, but I still prefer quizzes. So in Kahoots, the answers are up on the projector, it's teacher paced, while in quizzes, the answers display on the student device. The projector doesn't even have to be on. Just like Kahoot, students join with a game pin, but since the answers are on the device, the students do not have to go back and forth between looking at the device and looking at what you're projecting onto the wall or the screen and going back and forth. And so it's a lot easier for students to manage. And that's one of the complaints with Kahoots is kids, they have the images on the screen, but the answers are the images are on their device, but the answers are up on their screen. So they have to do that up and down motion to be able to match the answer, the symbols and the colors in the Kahoot. Whereas with quizzes, they just look on their device and they completely answer it, which is, takes away that problem. But what I really, really, really like about the quizzes is their homework mode. This means that you can create an assessment and assign it to be completed within a certain time period, rather than having all of your students do it together like you have to with Kahoot. You can use quizzes as a center in your classroom and have students rotate through it as well, instead of assigning it as homework, even though you're creating it in the homework mode. With quizzes, students love how in between each answer they are shown a meme that conveys a positive or a negative message depending upon whether the students answered correctly. And probably the best thing about quizzes is the music is not nearly as annoying as it is with Kahoot. That's important to me, at least. Quizzes also integrates with Google Classroom, which is really important to me because that makes it so much easier to assign the quiz. So in a nutshell, I think I like quizzes a little bit better than Kahoot simply because not everyone has to be looking at the screen to play it, and because it does not have to be done synchronously. Okay, I wanted to show you how to use quizzes really fast. Okay, so I'm at the website, which is simply quizzes.com. And so now quizzes is spelled Q-U-I-Z-I-Z-Z. And so sometimes people try to spell it with an E or put the Z's, the double Z before the single Z, and it's really easy to use. You simply will sign up or log in. I'm going to use my Google account, so it's going to take me right in. Sign in with Gmail, and it takes me right in. I have a couple of quizzes today. But when you first get into the website, it asks you, what will you teach today? And this is the updated website. It just got updated this fall. So what do you teach today? You can actually search for a quiz that somebody else has already created. So I think I probably spelled that wrong. Nope, looks like I spelled it right. If I look for the Pythagorean theorem, there are 1,832 quizzes already created for that. So if you're a math teacher and you want to use a Pythagorean theorem quiz, you can look at those and maybe find one that you like, that you don't have to create your own. And that's one of the great things about these shared resources. I always want to put the disclaimer out there that you want to check it and make sure that it truly is what you want it to be. So let's say I see this one. I'm going to pull it up. Okay. I can like it. I can add it to my collection. Best of all, I can duplicate it, and then it becomes mine, and I can do whatever I want with it. Okay. And so I can go through and edit it. If it's pretty close to what I want but not quite, that's a great feature. So I'm going to go to My Quizzes now. On the left-hand side, I can go to My Quizzes, and I see that Pythagorean theorem practice quiz is there. All right. And you can also see any quizzes that you've created there as well. Now, what I want to do today is to show you how to create a quiz. So the button on the left says to create a quiz. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me to a screen to create a new quiz. I want to make this, I'm just going to give it a name. I'm going to call it the practice quiz. I get to choose my language, and if I want it to be public or private. Now you can add a quiz image. I'm going to click on that. It's going to take me to some images that I have, and I'm going to use an image and click on done. All right. Now you can import it from a file, and so you can bring an Excel file or a CSV file in and actually create your quiz that way, which is really great that you don't have to type everything in. I'm just going to type some stuff in here. Okay, so I'm going to start typing in my questions, and maybe I want this to be, I'm going to throw them off and make that a question in red, even though that's not going to be the answer. All right, so I've got that question in there, and I can add a new question, and I can add an image to my questions. I can drop an image here, click to upload. So I click to upload, it's going to pull back in. Let's see, I'll just grab a random image, and I can put those images with those questions as well, and create as many questions as I want. And it warned me that that it's an incomplete question. You need to have at least 2 options. You have to have at least 2 options. One thing I forgot to do, I'm looking back here, as I have a question about my favorite color, I didn't mark a correct answer. I've got to mark a correct answer. That way the kids get it right. Otherwise, it's going to throw your kids into chaos as they are taking the quizzes with you. Okay, so it's saved automatically. I'm going to click on Finish now. Oh, I've got 2 incomplete questions. I'm just going to trash those questions. I'm just going to make this a 1-question quizzes, which I would never ever do, but because I don't want to. So I go back to my quizzes, and I see my practice quiz here. Now I can play it live, and I click on Play Live, and I click on Proceed. I have some options here. I can shuffle the questions and shuffle the answer options, which is great. So it's not always the same. So people can't say, oh, on question 5, choose B. Show the answers after the questions. You can choose that to be on or off, depending upon your what you want. If you want to have the kids take a quiz and don't want them to see the answer afterwards, you have that prerogative. And a review is at the end where students can see all the questions and know the answers. For some reason, you might want to have that hidden, as well as some other options with the question timer, where kids get more points for answering quicker. The memes you can turn on and off. You can actually select your memes, and you can actually create your own meme set if you like. Okay, so I click on proceed. It tells me what's the directions here that I can show for the kids. I can put this up on the projector, say join.quizzes.com is the URL they need to go to, and then it gives them a gain code. Now I like this, I can share it on Google Classroom. I click on Google Classroom. I select my class. I'm going to select the test class, and I can simply assign it here. And so now I'm posting this on Google Classroom, which is the great integration that I was talking about, and that's successfully shared here. So if I go to my Google Classroom, and I go to my test class, I see this quizzes live game here. And so it's perfect. You know, how easy is that? You just assign this quizzes on Google, through Google Classroom. It verifies that I want to use it. Put my name in. It creates an avatar for me, which especially elementary and middle school kids, they like that. Wait for the game to be started. Alright. So now I click on start. Here we see it live on this side when I start it. And now as on the student side, this is what I'm seeing. I can see the question. What is Mark's favorite color? Oh, it messed up my colors. Oh well, that's still fun. That would really throw kids off. With the reds on the orange square and the blues on the red square, that's awesome. Okay, I've got time. I select my answer and I get my points. And this positive meme that says I got it. All right. And I'm the top ranked student because I'm the only student in this case. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off so the music's not there. Alright, and so that's done. That's my quizzes. Hopefully you see how easy that is. Click the home button. Okay, I'm going back to my quizzes as well if I want to assign it. I want as homework. I click on homework, I click on proceed, and it gives me options how to sign out on homework. I can give a link in the game code, but since I have my Google Classroom integration, I'm simply going to click on Classroom again. I'm going to share it with the test class again, and I'm going to assign it. It's thinking about it. It's successfully shared. I'm going back to quizzes, or back to my Google Classroom. Okay, so I go back into my test class, and I see now there are two assignments here. There's the quizzes live game and the quizzes game. Click onto it, and I can join the game. It gives me a new avatar. It gives me the same avatar. Awesome. And so this isn't a live game. Any students can take this at any time. And I'm going to get the wrong answer here this time. Oh, it matched the colors match almost. Okay. Oh, and wow, one more wrong answer and I'm coming for you. I'm still, because I'm the only student, I'm ranked number 1. So there's quizzes for you. Okay, so we've shown you quite a few tools, ranging from the traditional to some that are gamified, to others that just use video. Here's a Symbaloo. This was created by Julie Jones, one of the former digital learning coaches. And this has links to a number of formative assessment tools, including some that we talked about today. So you can copy that down, you can take a screenshot of it, have a look at some of these other tools to find some things that you like, which we may not have discussed as well, and I will post this Symbaloo link in the Edpuzzle. That concludes our formative assessment webinar on demand. Thank you for your time in viewing this. I hope that you found it helpful and that you have something that you can walk away with and use in your classroom tomorrow. And that's what makes it valuable for me to be able to take my time to put these together. Again, you can contact me if you need some assistance. I'd be more than happy to come out and work with a group of teachers at your school, or to provide any assistance that I can to help with your efforts
to integrate technology into instruction. Please take the exit survey at the very end and then click on Done in the Edpuzzle once you've completed the exit survey. And have a great day.